Hey everyone, my name's Ashley Groskoff, and today I'll be talking to you about my sociological biography. So in a little introduction, my life has been generally simple, but at times it was anything but simple. The memories and moments that have happened in my life had made me the person that I am today. This sociological biography has provided me with the chance to come to ease with the moments that have been really hard in my life while reminiscing on the good things that happened. As I go deeper into my main points of my paper, you'll get the chance to step into my shoes for a short 10 minutes and see what my life was all about. So the first concept I talked about was being a mama's girl. Most children grow up attached to one parent over another, and for me, I always was around my mom. When I was a kid, she was the only one who could tuck me in at night. She was the only one who could help with my homework, and she was the only one who could take me to the park to play. While there are some positives to this concept, which are always having someone to talk to, no matter if it was serious or funny. We always had something to do. I'd always have someone to do stuff with, no matter if it was just watch a movie or go shopping or anything like that. And I always had someone to look up to. I think that's an important thing to have in your life because you have a role model to look after. While there are some good positives in being attached to someone, there was also negatives. 18 years later, and I still have to ask my mom about every decision I make, no matter how small or large, just to have a second opinion, because that's what I did when I was a kid. And the big negative was I disregarded the other parents' feelings and opinions when I was a kid, because I only wanted to be with my mom. So seeing how my dad, my relationship is today, not being close to him as a kid really affected him. The divorce. My father cheated on my mother for the last 4 years of their marriage. They tried to make it work for the good of my sister and I, but despite their best efforts, they ended up getting divorced in October 2017. My dad ended up walking out on my sister and I and began to distance his communication with us to the point where we did not talk for over 3 months. As I stated in my paper, the divorce was a precursor to disaster. I became extremely depressed. I questioned why my own father did not want me and why I was being ripped away from the things and experiences that a daughter needs most from his daughter. I asked myself who was going to take me to prom, or who was going to cry as I went off to prom, and who was going to cry when I went off to college and all these things. But while I say that the divorce is a precursor to disaster, the divorce also provided me with a sense of strength. If I can make it through growing up without a parent, I can make it through whatever life throws at me. After the divorce, we ended up having to put our childhood home up for sale, which really hit me hard. I was also very nervous to tell my friends about the divorce. I did not want them to think I came from a broken or messed up home. But surprisingly, they all took it very nicely and treated me like nothing ever happened, so that was an important thing in my life. A term that I talked about when I talked about the divorce was social capital. Social capital is the information, knowledge of people or things and connections that help individuals enter, gain power in, or otherwise leverage social networks. After the divorce was final and my dad left the family, I feel like I gained a sort of social capital over my father. After figuring out all the information about my father's affairs, his alcoholism, and the abuse, I had power over him, and I had people on my side that would protect me from anything that he could ever do to me. Another thing I talked about in my paper was race. Race is a group of people who share a set of characteristics, usually physical ones, and are said to share a common bloodline. I grew up in Hastings, Minnesota, which is generally a mostly white city, and because of this, I rarely ever felt unsafe walking around town at night, or rarely ever felt that I was out of place. It provided me with a sort of agency. But on the flip side, I know that there are people who do not fit into our mostly community and feel safe when we are around them. So that brings up agency. Agency is the capacity of individuals to act independently and to make their own choices for their life. Since I was safe in my own town, it gave me the chance to pick the school I wanted to attend, and I was able to make most of my decisions in life based on how I wanted to and not off anyone else's opinions. I didn't pick a school that was safe, so I came here. That wasn't one of the things I looked at when I was looking for a college. Bringing up college. College brings a need to be resocialized. College is nothing like high school. I went from having a mom who paid for practically everything for me when I was at home to have her not pay for anything, and I had to pay for everything by myself while I was here. Another thing that was different was having to pay for tuition. I went to a public school, so directly paying to go to school and a lot of money, on the other hand, was something that I had to get used to. Since it's so much to go here, it was a really big change from going to have to pay nothing to having to pay $9,000 a year to go here. Another thing that I learned when I came here was it was okay to be alone at times. In high school, I rarely went to the bathroom by myself without someone coming with me, so going to classes alone and spending more than 3/4 of my day without my friends around me was something really hard and eye-opening to do. I felt like a loner if I wasn't with anyone. Now, after being at Winona State for almost 9 months, my alone time is my favorite part of the day. It's a time to escape from the craziness and be able to do my own thing without anyone else getting involved. Socialization was another thing I talked about. As in college, the process by which individuals internalize the values, beliefs, and norms of a given society, and to learn the function as members of that society. The interaction with people when I was younger and still today have socialized and shaped me into who I am today. When I was a kid, I learned the norms and values of living in Hastings and being a part of that culture. And then moving to a new community can end in socialization because most cultures do not have the same values and norms that another country has. So coming from Hastings to Winona, there were some things that I needed to learn. 4-H. 4-H has been a big part of my life. Ever since I was a kid, I was always surrounded by livestock animals and dirt. I started my 4-H career by showing market beef until an unexpected accident happened and my beef career ended instantly. I ended up getting in the sheep project and have been a part of that for 11 years now. It's my last year in 4-H, so I decided to get involved in the hog project as well. Being in 4-H, many people stereotype me as being a hick. People look at you as always hanging out with the guys and playing in the dirt and scooping manure and hanging out with all these dirty animals. So that was like a hard thing. Stereotypes are a widely held image or idea of a particular type of person or thing. As for 4-H, I was a stereotype to be a hick because I spent my time in the mud and with my livestock, as I said. Stereotypes can be negative and positive and can affect the person's life no matter if it was positive or negative. I think when people think of stereotypes, they're usually bad and because the person acts like their stereotype. Social stratification. Social stratification is the system in which a society ranks categories of people in a hierarchy. Like I said earlier, I grew up in Hastings in a white middle-class family. Being a single mother, my mom had to work 3 jobs in order to provide the needs of my sister and I. Providing for 2 teenage girls is not easy, so I gave her props. Even though that I know there are people doing worse in my family, my mom struggled and can technically be considered a working class. Alcohol has been a huge part of my life too. When my parents' divorce happened, my dad admitted that he was suffering from alcoholism. His dad also was an alcoholic, so he grew up surrounded by alcohol, so it wasn't surprised that he was an alcoholic too. As everyone knows, alcohol can do detrimental damage to your physical and mental capabilities. My dad's health plunged downhill. He became very agitated and angry, and when he was drinking, and he became physically abusive towards me the last year. My mom was very worried that since my dad was an alcoholic and I grew up all around it, that my sister and I would devote our lives to alcohol too, which we don't even touch alcohol, so. Deviance. Deviance is any transgression of socially established norms. In other words, deviance is committing an act or doing something that is against society's norms, values, and is looked down upon by society. As our author of our book, Dalton Conley, also states, it is breaking the rules by which most people abide. So to depend how serious the deviance is, the person can be subject to punishment. And then different cultures have different definitions of deviance. So our culture thinks that drinking underage is a crime, while others have people drinking at like the age of 16. So some examples can include drinking underage, drinking while driving, any criminal crimes, like some people could consider rape not deviant, but here we do. Another thing that I talked about is my religion. I grew up in a Christian home that attended some type of church service every holiday, Sunday and Wednesday night. Every holiday we were at a church service, every Sunday we were at a church service, and every Wednesday we were part of a one, no matter if I was leading it, I was a leader, or I was attending it. The religion of Christianity has many values and beliefs that its followers need to confine to. Take a religion, Catholics. Some examples of a value that or a belief and norm that they follow is Lent. They don't eat meat on Fridays, and they have to give something that is a problem or a bad habit in their life up for those 40 days. Norms and values. Values are moral beliefs, and norms are how values tell us to believe. And then we learn these values and norms by being socialized when we are younger. The last thing I talked about in my paper was the scribed and achieved statuses. My scribed status is a person's ascribed status are the statuses that a person is assigned with at birth or assumed involuntary later in life. So when I looked at my life, my scribed statuses include a daughter, sister, a granddaughter, white, and I'm a female. My achieved status is the one that is acquired. It is a position that is earned or chosen and reflects a person's skills, abilities, and efforts. So when I took a look at my life again, a 4-H'er, friend, college student, Christian, and employee. In conclusion, through doing the sociological biography, I think it has helped me learn who I actually am as a person. Also, through doing this, it has forced me to think of what lessons and circumstances have shaped me for the good and the bad. There have been a lot of bumps in the road that has caused me to rethink some moments of my life, but I'm happy to know that I have come to ease with some situations that have happened in my life, and I'm excited to continue my sociological biography as my life goes on. Can't wait till all yours.